YouTube, here we are again. So really excited about this video. Had a lot of requests for it. So yes, I am once again going to test the 44 Magnum and the 10mm against an actual grizzly bear skull. This is the brown bear skull I killed last spring. It's a small brown bear. It was a female. It was 5 years old. Unit 16B, they're starving there. So the bears are really small because they're just going crazy. That's why they smashed my tent and ate all my food. Anyways, I'm going to, this is not 10mm versus 44 Magnum, okay? I already understand the 44 Magnum wins. That's why I pack it over the 10mm. But I do want to test this ammo because a lot of guys in Alaska are starting to pack the 10mm, and there's a lot of interest in the Underwood Extreme Penetrator 10mm. So I just want to see what each one would do versus the grizzly bear skull. I'll have a patch of fur taped on top of the skull and 32 inches of ballistic gel behind it. Got a lot of requests for this video, like I said, and I'll get some guys pointed out that it's not fair that the 10mm pistol has a longer barrel than the 44 Magnum, so you're gonna get more velocity from this one. But I look at it as a handicap. It's already anemic compared to the 44 Magnum. What's interesting is with this Underwood ammo, and it was really hard to get it. A big shout out to Alaska Ammo. Their website is ironically 10mm below, but they bent over backwards to supply me with some this 10mm Extreme Penetrator. It's been hard to find. It's flying off the shelves because guys in Alaska want to carry it. Really interesting ammo. What's interesting is the 10mm is 140 grains at 1500 feet per second. 44 Magnum is 220 grains at 1530 feet per second. So the velocity is going to be a little similar, and maybe even because of the longer barrel in the 10mm. So, and obviously this bear skull is going to be more brittle than an actual bear. You know, it's been bleached or processed, but I was surprised at how hard this skull plate is. And the reason I'm doing this test is the urban legend. The urban legend is that guys are getting mauled. They pull out their 44 Magnum or their revolver, and because of the angle or because of it's a giant grizzly with a 4-inch skull plate, the bullet bounces off the forehead. That's a big urban legend up here, and I want to see if it's true. Now obviously, you know, this is a lot drier. It's not going to be as tough as a live grizzly, but I'm interested to see what'll happen if you know, and obviously I think these bullets are going to go right through, but I think this, just looking in there, I think this skull plate does have about 1.5 inches of pure bone right there. So it's going to be interesting to see how much armor that would provide a brown bear. So let's take it to the field. Let's test it. Thanks, guys.
Oh, dang it, I went through the nose. Redo? Yeah. Okay, went through the forehead that time. Bone wasn't as thick as I thought it was. Let's move to the 44. Whoa.
Yeah.
Went out the side. and it didn't go into those.
All right, guys, well, we're back from the field today and we had a blast. That was a really fun test. I gotta say, guys, I'm sorry I messed up on the stand. I should have built a nice plywood stand or had a sheet stand. The platform that I had it on was, you know, completely demolished by the first shot, so I apologize for that. Yeah, big learning curve there in my ballistic test career. But anyways, I learned a lot and I made a new decision on what I learned. Let me tell you what happened. First of all, the bear skull was not as thick as I thought it was. Okay, this is a small bear. Like I said, this is a 5-year-old female. She was starving. She only weighed 250 pounds for a brown bear. It was small, okay? How many brown bears have you killed? Just kidding. Anyways, it was a small brown bear. I thought, because of the urban legend, that this skull plate would be like an inch thick. Look at this skull plate. It's just a few millimeters thick. Those bullets just punched right through it. But I will say this, it's thin, but it is very strong. I thought that when I hit it with the .44 Magnum, that this skull would shatter in half. I thought that I wouldn't have a skull anymore. No, I'm gonna have to get a bear next year. I can still display this. I got the jaw, I can put the lower jaw on it. It's just got a few holes in it. So I could still display this. It is hard, it is tough. It did not shatter. Another thing is the last time I tried to simulate bear flesh, I shot through the bear fur, like I did this time, some pork ribs, and then 18 inches of ballistic gel. This skull slowed the bullet down because last time the bullet went all the way through. The 10 millimeter actually got caught in the 18 inches. It didn't escape, which is interesting because it tumbled, and we'll talk about that. It came out backwards, so that was interesting. But yeah, I did learn that these skulls are very tough. It's a very tough skull, but thin. I mean, that is just, it is not even a centimeter. That is just a few millimeters in parts. Including the top of the head. There's just this viscous nasal material, and then it's a thin skull. You know, I'm sure a 1,000-pound grizzly bear would have a thick skull, but it's not going to be the 4-inch forehead plate that those guys are talking about. It's going to be a little thicker than this. You might get a centimeter. So it's not too hard to punch through a bear's skull into the brain. When it's moving at you 40 miles an hour, it's going to be hard to aim. But yeah, it went through no problem. Very impressed with the Extreme Penetrator. And what can I say? I am very impressed with the 10 millimeter. You know, it was a difficult shot. I was having to get really low, and I kept shooting through the nose. So it took me a few shots with the 10 millimeter, but you know, it busted through the center there. And a couple of them went out the side, but I did capture one 10 millimeter, and it tumbled. You know, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing for penetrating. You know, you think that you want it to just, you know, stay spinning like a drill and go in, but the tumbling's doing a lot of damage. And I have to say that the .44 Magnum left bigger holes through everything, but the 10 millimeter punched through just fine. And from what I can tell, it did almost more damage in the ballistic gel than the .44 Magnum as far as the canal damage, the cavern that it created. It seemed bigger than the .44 Magnum to me, visually, in the ballistic gel, which was interesting. You know, they're both traveling at the same feet per second, but the 10 millimeter was a smaller grain bullet. So I don't know. I am very impressed with the .44 Magnum. Obviously, just punched through. You know, it kept going out the side. It went all the way through the 18 inches of gel and went out the side before it could get caught in one of the back blocks, because I had 32 inches of gel altogether. I had to reposition the skull so the .44 Magnum went right there and just punched right through and went right through it. We recovered the .44 Magnum bullet. It went into the snow and buried about 3 feet into the snow, and it hit the rocks and it actually crushed a bit. It didn't change. It wouldn't have changed shape, I don't believe, but once it hit the gravel underneath the snow, you could see where it got crunched in a little bit. So that's interesting. I like how these bullets aren't meant to mushroom. They keep their shape and they just do these explosive damage when they go in. But I wasn't going to make this about 10 millimeter versus 44. A lot of argument on the last video I did. A lot of guys arguing. I just want to say I have nothing but respect for the old timers, you Alaskan guides, you Alaskan guys that own the lodges up in Alaska. You've been around. You guys know more than me that 44 is better, 454 is even better, shotgun is better. I have nothing but respect. I'm not worthy. However, this is New Jack City, baby. 10 millimeter extreme penetrator is a game changer in my book, and so far it's a game changer so much that, guess what? I'm going to trade my .44 Magnum. Here in Alaska, we trade guns like Pokemon cards. I know like 3 different guys, Joey, Smitty, Mike. You guys know who you are. You guys trade like 3 guns a week, and you're totally addicted to it. So am I. I'm not that big of a trader, but we trade guns like Pokemon cards because you get tired of one and you're like, oh, look at that. That's pretty tactical. That's cool. I want that. And so anyways, in Alaska, we have the best laws, and we sit there and trade guns all the time. But anyways, I'm already getting offers on this. I just posted it a few minutes ago. I'm going to use the 10 millimeter instead of the .44 Magnum in bear country because of the crazy damage it did. It punched right through that head of the bear skull, and it to me, it seemed like it did more damage from the canal it made in the gel. And it had crazy penetration, and I can hold 15 in this bad boy. It's never failed on me, and I was charged last spring on my bear hunt in the dark. I had the Ruger Red Hawk. Thankfully, I was firing it off left and right because there was wolves howling, bears creeping up on me. But anyways, I was charged by a bear. It was completely pitch black. I got 1 shot off, and I missed it. If I would have had the 10 millimeter, I just would have went, bah, 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 and I would have got like 10 shots off in that same time, and I would have come home with 2 bears instead of 1. I can just shoot this so much faster than this and more controlled, and it's doing crazy damage. It can put a bear down. This is my new backup gun. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to go hunt a bear with a 10 millimeter. I'm going to have my 300 or the Scar 17, so if there's a bear coming around the corner in the brush, I'm probably going to use the rifle to take it down. But if I have to in a pinch, I now trust a 10 millimeter because I know I can have 15 rounds of this crazy Underwood extreme penetrator ammo. New Jack City, baby. This is the new stuff. You can't even get it here in Alaska. These guys are buying it left and right for their Glock 20s. Everybody's buying this. I can't blame them. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start stacking this, and on my spring bear hunt, I'm going to be taking that. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. Punched right through the fur. What can I say? I wasn't going to make it about 44 versus 10 mil, but with this new ammo, I'm switching to 10 millimeter for my brown bear protection. The grizzly bear skull, obviously, and a live grizzly bear is going to be moving around. It's going to be a lot tougher than this, but those 10 millimeters will go right in there. You just set off a barrage at the head, and as long as you hit the brain, you're going to take it out. So, sorry guys, 10 millimeter. I got to vote for it. 10 millimeter wins in my book, and that's what I'm sticking with. So, thanks guys. It's Chook, your friend in the field.